Today I'm going to show you how this ICT Business Continuity Policy document looks like and how to fill it out to be compliant with DORA EU cybersecurity regulation. This document is specifically required by DORA Article 11 and by related CDR 2024-1774 Article 24. But this document is also important because it gives an overall direction of what the company will do with business continuity, and it gives a framework for the senior management to understand and control what happens with business continuity and ultimately with resilience of the company. I'm showing you now the ICT Business Continuity Policy template from Advisera's DORA documentation toolkit. So here on the first page you have this general information about the document, on the second page you have change history and table of contents, and then on the third page basically the main part of the document starts. Now I'll go back to this main part in a minute. So let me first explain you how the document is structured. So let's go to this table of contents. So here in the purpose, scope and users, you define what is this document written for, what does it apply to, and who should read it. Reference documents, so you refer here to DORA, to relevant CDRs, but also to ISO standards like 27001 and 22301. And then in section 3, you define what is the purpose and objectives of business continuity. And then in section 4, you define to which parts of your organization does this business continuity apply to, meaning which kind of products and services are covered with business continuity policy. And then section 5 is around defining what are the key business continuity documents, how the recovery is prioritized, meaning how these recovery time objectives are set. Then what are the criteria for activating and deactivating recovery plans, what are the rules for exercising and testing, and basically how this post-incident review needs to be performed. And then section 6 is around responsibilities and management. So who is responsible for business continuity management, who is responsible for review, for measurement of the performance of business continuity, then how these changes to the program are made, how this business continuity policy needs to be communicated, and how the senior management provides support for business continuity. And the final section is validity and document management. This is where you define who is the document owner, how often it needs to be reviewed, and so on. Okay, let's go now to the main part of the document. So section 1, purpose, scope and users. So the purpose of this policy is to ensure the continuity. And then you have these square brackets. This basically means that you have to insert something that is specific for your company. In this case, you have to insert your company name. Let's say that your company is called Test Incorporated. Again, here you would need to insert your company name, and then you move on to this second section, reference documents. As you can see already, DORA relevant articles are here. Also this CDR 1774 is here, and here you actually see the links to these documents. So when you click them, you will open the original full text of these regulations. Okay, when we go further, as you can see, this text is already here. You might change it if you want, so you can leave it as it is. Business continuity objectives. Again, you already have the suggested text here. So basically it says that the objectives will be set through digital operational resilience strategy. And here all the objectives must be reviewed at least once a year and the results reported to top management. Here you will see suggestions on, let's say, what is the alternative way to fill out the document. So you can actually change this once a year into, let's say, once every 6 months. So the point is you can adapt any part of this document here to what you see fit. And then again, one placeholder here, you have to define who is the job title for measurement methodology. And again, here is the comment which actually helps you fill this out. So who is in charge of setting the measurement methodology? For example, this could be Chief Financial Officer, Chief Information Security Officer, or someone else. So let's say this is the Chief Information Security Officer. And then of course you can delete this part here together with this comment because you don't need it anymore. Also here you have the suggestion for this method for measurement. This is measurement methodology. Again, you can adapt it, you can change it to what you need. Applicability and scope. So you have this time frame. Basically it explains that all the arrangements actually cover the preparation activities that must be performed before a potential incident, that activities that must be prepared during the incident, and activities that must be performed after a disruptive incident is contained. Then you define the scope and so on. And this is basically how you go through this document. You basically go section by section, see where these square brackets are so that you can fill out specific information for your company, and you use these comments in order to speed up the writing of the documents, because they give you some suggestions on what to do. When it comes to options on what to write in this policy, DORA does not really give too much choice what kind of other business continuity documents to include in this business continuity program. So it defines that you need business impact analysis, digital operational resilience strategy, business continuity plans, disaster recovery plans, exercising and testing, and so forth. So there is not much to change there. Where you do have some freedom to choose between different options are with regards to responsibilities. So you can define who will be in charge of overseeing business continuity, and this should be someone from the senior management, and this could actually be the same person who is overseeing and who is the sponsor of, let's say, the cybersecurity side of the organization. Or you can actually choose that this sponsor of business continuity is a different person from the sponsor of cybersecurity. This might be the case for very large organizations, where for smaller ones typically it is only one person. Similar thing with the person who will be operationally in charge of business continuity. For larger organizations this might be a separate business continuity manager, whereas for smaller organizations this could be the same person as the one who actually performs the role of the CISO, the Chief Information Security Officer. And then it's usually this person who is in charge of business continuity is also the owner of this policy. Now, the usual challenges when writing this kind of a policy are not knowing how to structure it, not knowing which options to choose when defining the requirements in this policy, and also simply finding time to write this kind of a document. Now, with regards to structure, you can use a similar structure to the one that I've shown you, and basically this structure is already defined by DORA and this related CDR. When it comes to defining particular requirements or choosing the options, this is where this business continuity manager needs to work with the sponsor of business continuity and together conclude what is the best option for the circumstances in this company. And for that purpose, this business continuity manager actually has to make aware this business continuity sponsor, so the member of the senior management, of why this business continuity policy is so important for the senior management, because this is the starting point actually for this senior executive to start appreciating not only of the importance why he or she needs to participate in making key decisions around this document. And to resolve this challenge of having too much to write, I'll show you now how to speed up the writing of this document using the document wizard from Advisera's DORA documentation toolkit. This is how this DORA documentation toolkit application looks like once you log into it. So we go here for folder number 4, governance, and here we'll see this ICT Business Continuity Policy. When I click on it, a wizard will open, and as you can see, it has a couple of steps. Now, in these steps, you will already see these placeholders which are suggested by the software. So what is the name of the person to approve this document? CEO. Let's say this is fine. What is the confidentiality level of this document? Top secret. So let's say I want to change this to internal use, and then I go next. Who is in charge of setting the measurement methodology? CFO, Chief Financial Officer. So let's say that I want only the Chief Financial Officer. Move on next. Who is in charge of business continuity in your company? Business continuity manager. So basically this is it. As you can see, these fields are already pre-filled because I already used this application for filling out some other documents in the toolkit, and then the application actually remembered everything that I saved and then suggests these things for each next document that I write using this document wizard. So this is how it speeds up your writing. Okay, when I go next and so on, I don't have to fill them all out. When I click download, you will see that in a couple of seconds the document is created, and then when I click it, I will open it now. Now you'll notice that this document is slightly different from the one that I was showing you, because this one is already automatically filled out through the wizard. So for example, here you already see this logo, which is automatically filled out through the wizard. Also the company name. Also here you see approver, CEO, also confidentiality level. All this came through this wizard. Also you will see that the headers are filled out, and let's see the things that it inserted into the text of the document. So it's inserted here the name of the company, and also it inserted this Chief Financial Officer who is responsible for setting the methods for measuring the achievement. So as you can see, it speeds up considerably when you write the document, especially once you use it for several documents, because each new document is much quicker because the software suggests most of these fields up front. Hope this was helpful, and to see this ICT Business Continuity Policy yourself, sign up for a free trial of DORA Documentation Toolkit. Click the link in the description below, and you'll be able to see a free demo of this document, but also of other documents from this toolkit, and you'll also be able to try how this document wizard works. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, and you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel not to miss any of my new videos, and I publish videos every week. Thanks for watching!